Now you guys finally got that answer to the Tua question. Would it be taken care of before the start of the season? Your thoughts, your analysis on the deal that Tua Tagovailoa did get last week?
I think you have to. I mean, when you look at, here's the quarterbacks that got paid. Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Herbert. Tua is right on par with them. And Jordan Love, they paid Jordan Love and he played half a season. So don't tell me about what Tua has or hasn't done. Look at production. Look at what he's done. And Jordan Love, consider this. Jordan Love sat for 3 years. He was supposed to play like that. He was supposed to come in and be ready. What happened to Tua his first 2 years is almost a crime against an athlete. And he still got through that. Had the 1 year where he was kind of banged up. It happens to athletes where you have that 1 year where you cannot get healthy. He played all of last year, kind of faded at the end of the year. Why? The question you have to ask is, why did the Dolphins fail? It's easy for us as dum-dums of football to say, it was Tua. If we had a better quarterback, that's not accurate. It's not. But we're going to put it up. Oh, you can't win in December. Can't do this. Can't do that. That team was so broken up. And granted, the offense was terrible. But why was the offense terrible? Tyreek was on one leg. Waddle was barely playing. And so it was a collapse of epic proportion. But you still have to step back and look at the situation and say, who is the best guy to lead this offense? It's Tua. Based on the fact that he gets rid of the ball quickly and is extremely accurate. And he throws where quarterbacks hate to throw. And that's in the middle of the field.
Leroy Hoard is here with us. And let me be clear, because I don't want to dance around the topic here. I said for most of the offseason, I would wait until next year to pay Tua. But with that being said, once Trevor Lawrence got his deal, and then once Jordan Love, it was clear he was going to get his deal by sitting out in training camp. I was on with your afternoon guys, Hockman and Crowder. I said, if they don't pay him, it would be now disrespectful. So once those two things happen, if he is your franchise quarterback, you had to get this deal done. And I'll give credit to Mike McDaniel. I don't know how true this is, but I heard Tua say it. Him going to Stephen Ross and saying, going to bat for his guy, once again shows you what Brian Flores didn't do for Tua, which was just simply believe in him.
But and I would say this. One of the reasons why I have the utmost respect for Tua, along with his skills. Do you know, you've been around athletes enough. How would those first 2 years break an athlete? In a lot of cases, at that position. Just think of all the guys that had poor coaching, a bad organization, and they were broken early in their career and could never turn it around, regardless of how talented they were. He handled himself pretty well throughout all that. And still came in and was able to build on his career and do something. So from that standpoint, I think Tua has done more than Trevor Lawrence. He's done more than Jordan Love, right? And I get Justin Herbert, and the reason why I don't include Justin Herbert is because he has some coaching issues.
To say the least.
Right. You see what I'm saying? And,
yeah.
And so I'm going to be fair from that. But guess what? Like, we can say the same thing about Lamar Jackson.
But Lamar won 2 MVPs. Now, he hasn't had the success in the playoffs.
Hold on. But again, look at it from my standpoint and how they talk about Tua. Because Tua led the league in passing. And the complaint was he can't win a big game and he didn't win a playoff game. When I said, my reply was, no quarterback has in 20 plus years here. So calm down. Right? With Lamar, the complaints are now he can't win a big game.
Sure.
But it's hard. Let's not just make it sound like, if we had a different quarterback, we could win. That's not what football is. And we make it that. Now, I get it. If you have a terrible quarterback, a guy who is not competent enough to play the position, yes, you can say our chances would be better. But for the most part, there's a lot of guys that can play the position that teams do not win. Look at Matthew Stafford, right? And what they said about him in Detroit. Like, we got to stop with that. We got to start looking at the whole situation as why a team isn't winning and stop putting it on one guy. And when you do that, then you understand the importance of your quarterback and why you have to or why you can't sign it. And we didn't do that with Tua. We only said, oh, well, he's injured. Well, he played all of last year. Like, if you look at all the games missed by quarterbacks, Tua's not the worst. So what are you saying about the other quarterbacks? You see, we pick and choose what portion of the career or of the stats we want to use. And I say, okay, let's use all of them. How many quarterbacks lead the league in passing? Right? Like, let's use all the stats. How many, look, turnover to interception ratio, great. Completion percentage, great. Like, he's not throwing dinks and dunks either. So all the things we say, oh, his arm is he doesn't have a strong enough arm. We keep coming up with reasons why Tua isn't good enough instead of just embracing the things that, you know what? The Chargers felt the same way about Drew Brees. Did they not? How did it work out for him? Arm wasn't strong enough. He's a little guy. He's not. Okay, so spare me. Let's just ride this out. Let's see where it's going to go. Like Tua said, the market is the market.
Sure.
And then you go from there because I tell you what, fans say, oh, we should have waited. Guess what? You want to play quarterback Roussel again for the next 5 or 6 years? How are you going to feel about your team then?
You knew they were never moving off of him because this is, and I've even said about Tua, I think he's a good, not a great quarterback right now. That's just the way that I've said it. But I said, if you are moving off of Tua, who are you going to get? Like,
right.
You're going to go trade for Kirk Cousins? Lateral move. You're going to go trade for Dak Prescott? Tua could be Dak Prescott, where the stats are really good. You're a good quarterback. You're consistently in the playoffs, and you never make it to a championship game. You know, that could happen. So there wasn't a name out there for a roster that has win now feel to it. There's not a name out there where they would vastly improve at the quarterback position. And also, you haven't had a quarterback in Miami since Dan Bleepin Marino, so you couldn't get rid of this guy who's finally good, and we're saying he's just not great, or I'm saying it.
Well, do you need a great quarterback to win or a good one?
You can win in an individual season a Super Bowl with the good quarterback. We've seen it. But most of the teams that are consistently there, Kansas City, Mahomes, Brady in New England, Peyton Manning, right? Aaron Rodgers.
We're talking about exceptions.
Guys are Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Right. We're talking about exceptions, though. See, let's get back to reality. Everybody's not a Hall of Famer at the position.
Yeah.
So you got to learn how to win with that. Now, for the Dolphins, there's bigger issues.
Sure. Defense is a big issue. Health is a big issue. Defense,
we just don't know. We don't know when Chubb.
Where's your confidence with the offensive line this year, by the way? Because I know that's always a big topic of conversation with the Dolphins.
Here's the other reason why I sneakily say you guys don't recognize how good Tua is. Tua has a little bit of that Tom Brady in this. He gets rid of the ball so fast, you think your offensive line is blocking better. Right? Like, do we know how good Brady's offensive line was? He got rid of the ball so quick. Wherever he was, right?
They had his last Super Bowl in New England. That offensive line, they were great in the playoffs. But I remember going up against the Chargers when you had Bosa. He said, like, Tom, can you actually hold on to the ball for like a second or two? Because he was getting that ball out as quick as possible.
Exactly. That's a skill. That's a skill to read a defense and be accurate that quickly. And that's one of the things that we seem to forget to mention when it comes playing quarterback in Miami, that maybe your offensive line isn't quite there. But guess what? It doesn't matter because the quarterback you have makes quick decisions. And so that plays into it too. So when you have questions about your offensive line, Tua helps with that. It's the defense. Right now, they're on a new coach. They got Weaver. He's a new coach. Don't know what the scheme is going to be yet. They lost Christian Wilkins, who's a beast. They have Jalen Phillips, who's coming off an Achilles.
Enormous
injury. Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb coming off of, ACL. And so you got young guys that are going to have to play now. You don't even know what the defense is going to look like. So yeah, and but here's the kicker. Here's why the Dolphins are in a pretty good spot over the other teams in the conference. Because their schedule doesn't get really tough until the end.
Okay.
And so you got time to get your act together before you get into that final stretch. Even though we've had questions about the final stretch before down here. You still have a chance to get everybody healthy. You have a chance to get everybody back. You have a chance to pick up on the offense. You have a chance. First of all, I would like to say that I think a lot of things that failed the offense last year was their ability to make adjustments coming out at halftime against the better teams. You just thought you could go out there and keep doing you.
So what does that say about the coach? Because McDaniel, right, so many people love him because he says things at the podium that everyone laughs about. He's been in the playoffs his first 2 years, so give him credit for that. But what does that say about your coach then?
It says he's been a head coach for 2 years. That's it. I see. I know that I wasn't the best version of me my first year in the NFL.
Fair.
I see other players, they aren't the best version of themselves their first year in the league. Same thing with coaches. But for some reason, with quarterback and coach, you expect them to go to the Super Bowl the very first year. It may happen, but you're still growing. And so from that standpoint, I see it and I'm like, oh, he's going to get better at that. I think he's going to get better at that.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone, right, looked at the Dolphins last year and said, oh, they were going to a Super Bowl. Like even going into this year, I don't think people are saying this team's going to a Super Bowl. But how far are you willing to go with this team this year? Like, what do you expect realistically out of this squad in the 2024 season?
Here's what I would say. There's a lot of questions on every team in the division that people aren't willing to admit. All right, first of all, Aaron Rodgers is 40. Okay? And his offensive line gave up 65 sacks last year. And he ain't going to be moving like he is Aaron Rodgers. I don't care what anybody says. He's 40, and he had an Achilles tear. So he's going to need that offensive line a lot more than people think. Also, he's only played 4 plays with some guys. So that growth is going to take a little bit of time. Working with his wide receivers, tight end, running back, that's going to take a little bit of time. How long is it going to take? Are they going to dig themselves a hole before they finally get going? Okay, everybody's just assuming, oh, we got Aaron Rodgers, we're good to go. No.
But they do have a great defense, so you could win some low-scoring games and iron things out early.
Again, that's but it's still a question. It's still a question. I have a question with Buffalo.
Sure.
We didn't have that. Josh Allen didn't have a star receiver. You gave him a star receiver, he blew up. Now you're taking him away. So now you're saying that Josh Allen's good enough. He doesn't need a star receiver. He just needs decent receivers. So is somebody going to step up and be great? Or is Josh Allen going to be able to carry those guys? These are the questions we had before Stephon Diggs got there. And now we got the same questions when he left, but we just feel better about Josh Allen right now, but it's still up for discussion along with all of the pieces they lost defensively. And now you have the Dolphins. What are they going to be defensively? Offensively, we think they can put up a lot of big numbers again. But defensively, are they going to be able to hold it together until everybody gets healthy and go on that final run at the end of the year? So, to me, the division's wide open. I have the most questions with a team that gave up 65 sacks and the Jets. Are they going to mysteriously, you're going to decline that by what, 40? By 30? Like, if you get to 45 sacks, you're right in the middle of the pack. So how is that going to work? We make so many assumptions about what's going to happen. I don't make those assumptions.
So, are they going to win a playoff game this year, Leroy?
I do believe. Okay. I think they'll be in I think they'll play a home playoff game this year.
Wow. So you think they're winning the division then?
I think they have a better chance of winning it this year than they did last year. So, yeah, I'll say yeah.
Yeah, see, they're splitting hairs with these 3 teams.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But
I agree. Last year, though, and I picked them to win the division last year.
Right. They failed.
The Bills were begging you to win that game in the final week of the season, and they couldn't get the job done. So right now, I think Josh Allen's won the MVP this year. I think he's going to win the AFC East this year. Until someone knocks them off, I'm still going to pick them.
And I cannot disagree with you. We did the same thing. Listen, they've won it 4 or 5 years in a row, right?
Yeah.
Look, we dealt with the Patriots with the same issue. Like, until you knock the Patriots off, going into every season, we just count them as the division champs.
And just with what I know with the Jets defense, that's what gives me the slight edge to the Jets over the Dolphins in that 1-2-3
So
finish.
you think the Dolphins are going to finish third?
Yeah, I put them in front of New England. New England, my team, they stink this year.
I mean, thanks.
But any of those teams, you could order them any way you want. 1, 2, 3, and I can't yell at you and tell you that you're wrong. But
here's what I would say.
Here are the odds. One of those 3 teams, one of them are in all likelihood are probably going to miss the playoffs, and it's going to be a good team missing the playoffs. Whoever that third team is in the division.
Right. I would say this. The team I have the most questions about are the Jets.
You can't stand the Jets.
It's not that. It's not that. Like, I'm making more of a big deal about a 40-year-old coming back from an Achilles with a team that he hasn't really played with yet. Like, that's not a small task to come onto a new team and have only played 4 live games, 4 live plays. So there's some learning that they're going to have to go through. And I'm curious to see, how is the season going to start? And are they going to have enough time if they have to learn on the fly and grow on the fly to catch up at the end?